So what happens when a cynical question gets an absolutely epic 78-verse answer? Well, we're about to find out. Picture this. It's the 7th century, and a single question is thrown at the Prophet Muhammad. And this wasn't asked out of genuine curiosity. No, this was a challenge. And the response became one of the most poetic and profound chapters in the entire Quran.
This is the question that started it all. And what is the merciful? Now, it was posed by the polytheists of Mecca, and on the surface, it sounds like a pretty straightforward request for a definition. But the real intention behind it, it was anything but simple.
Yeah. You see, this question was pure mockery. It was their way of saying, this merciful you keep going on about, what even is that? It was meant to belittle, to dismiss the whole idea. But the Quran's response was just extraordinary. Instead of dismissing the mockers, it took their question with the utmost seriousness, dedicating an entire chapter, Surah Ar-Rahman, just to answer it.
And what's really fascinating here is that this isn't some one-off thing. The Quran actually has a clear method for dealing with cynical challenges like this. It flips moments of mockery into these incredibly powerful teaching opportunities. To really get how it does this, let's look at another example real quick. In another chapter, Surah Yasin, a skeptic literally holds up a rotten, crumbling bone and asks, with total scorn, who can bring this back to life? Just like the question about the merciful, it's not a real inquiry, it's a statement of disbelief. And just like before, the Quran takes the challenge head-on with this rigorous, logical argument.
So how do you answer someone who thinks resurrection is just impossible? You don't start with some abstract theological lecture. No, you start with pure logic, using ideas they themselves would already accept. The Quran lays out this brilliant three-step case.
Okay, first, there's the argument from the source. I mean, if you believe God created life from absolute nothingness to begin with, isn't it logical that he can recreate it from something that already exists? The harder job is already done. Second, the method. Look around in nature. God is constantly creating things from their opposites. We'll touch on a great example in a second. And third, scale. The being who created entire galaxies, you're saying he can't recreate one single person? It's all about putting things in perspective. And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures that second point, creating from opposites. The Quran points to this stunning everyday miracle. God creates fire, hot, dry, consuming, from a green, wet tree. It's a perfect metaphor from the natural world. If he can bring forth something from its total opposite, then bringing life out of the stillness of death is definitely within his power. So with that logical groundwork laid, the Quran can finally tackle the first question. So how does all this circle back to our original question, what is the merciful? Well, having established the logic of God's power, the chapter now switches gears to provide tangible, observable evidence. It doesn't give you a dry dictionary definition, it gives you a tour of reality. The answer starts with the ground right under our feet, the earth itself, made just right for us to live on. Then it points to all the things that keep us going, fruits of every single variety, the complex design of date palms, the essential grains we rely on, and just the simple pleasure of fragrant plants. Every single one is a sign.
And after laying out this first wave of evidence, a powerful question appears for the first of 31 times. It's a direct challenge back to the audience. That's both humans and jinn. So, which of the favors of your Lord would you two deny? It completely changes the dynamic, turning a list into a conversation and forcing you to think.
The tour continues, moving from what sustains us to what we are. It points to the origin of humanity, created from a type of clay, like pottery. And then, in the same breath, it mentions another creation, the jinn, made from a smokeless flame of fire. You have the same creator, mastering completely different elements.
And there it is again, that question echoing back. The miracle of our own existence, the very stuff we're made of, is framed as a gift, a favor. How could anyone possibly deny that?
All right, now we get to one of the most famous signs. The Quran points to this amazing phenomenon where two large bodies of water, say salt water and fresh water, meet, but they don't mix. They flow right next to each other. They touch, but they keep their own distinct properties.
The Quran actually gives this phenomenon a specific name, barzakh. It basically means a barrier or a partition. Now, this isn't some physical wall, of course. It's a natural law, a divine system that maintains this incredible balance in the world's waters.
And what comes out of these seas? The chapter points out two treasures, pearls and coral. And this is such a brilliant metaphor. Coral is usually near the surface, right? It's beautiful and easy to get to. That's kind of like surface-level knowledge. But pearls, to get a pearl, you have to dive deep into the dark and really search for it. It represents that profound wisdom that takes real effort to find. And both are treasures from the very same source. The tour then points to something that we humans build, but that's only possible because of divine laws. Massive ships, sailing the seas like floating mountains. They only work because of the underlying laws of physics, buoyancy, density, wind, all systems put in place by that same merciful creator. One last time, the refrain hammers the point home. After this grand tour, from a single grain of wheat to the vast oceans holding up ships, the evidence for a merciful, powerful, and intelligent creator is just overwhelming. The question just hangs there in the air. What part of all this reality can you possibly deny?
But wait, the answer doesn't stop with the physical world. That whole tour of creation, that was just the setup. The final part of the answer goes beyond the tangible and gets to the ultimate nature of existence itself. This, right here, is the climax. The Quran declares that everything we've just looked at, the earth, the seas, the ships, even our own selves, is fani, meaning temporary, finite, destined to perish. But one thing is baki, eternal and everlasting, the face of your Lord, the owner of all majesty and honor. That is the ultimate answer to what is the merciful. He is the permanent reality in a universe of temporary things.
So the key takeaway is this. The Quran never gave a simple definition. In response to that mocking question, it didn't just say, the merciful is an entity that... Nope. Instead, it took the questioner on a grand tour of their own reality. It essentially said, you want to know what the merciful is? Look at the sky. Look at the earth. Look at the seas. Look at yourself. All of it. That is the evidence of the merciful.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What does it mean for the relationship between seeing and believing? When the answer to a question about God isn't some complex doctrine, but is instead everything you can see, touch, and experience? It suggests that maybe the most profound signs aren't hidden away in ancient texts, but they're all around us, all the time, just waiting for us to notice.